"You don't understand," she cried, her voice trembling with fear. "They're coming for me, and they won't stop until they catch me." "Who? Who's coming?" he asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. "The collectors. They're ruthless, and they'll kill anyone who gets in their way." "Then we have to leave here, right now." "But I can't go without the artifact. It's the only thing that can stop them." "What artifact? What are you talking about?" "There's no time to explain. We have to find it before they arrive." Alex Carter stood frozen, his heart thundering in his chest as he gazed at the alien girl before him. Her name was Lyra. She had cried it out in her frenzy. She was shaking, her golden eyes wide with terror, her skin glimmering like the stars, and her luminous hair drifting as though alive. Yet it wasn't her eerie beauty that sent a shiver down Alex's spine. It was the raw desperation in her voice, as if the very cosmos were crumbling around her. They were deep within a cavern on KX-47, a barren world Alex had chanced upon when his ship, the Odyssey, detected an anomalous signal. He had assumed it was a standard scouting mission, but now he saw he had wandered into a living nightmare. "Who are the collectors?" Alex inquired, striving to maintain a calm tone despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He wasn't an expert on the galaxy's perils, but the name alone conjured images of lethal threats. Lyra seized his hand, her fingers icy yet firm as they clasped his. "They're scavengers, harvesting technology and life forms from every corner of the galaxy. They took me for my race's knowledge. If they catch me, they won't just end my life. They'll end yours as well." Alex swallowed, the weight of the peril pressing down on him. He wasn't a savior, merely an adventurer with a thirst for the unknown. Yet, gazing into Lyra's eyes, he knew he couldn't abandon her. "What is this artifact? Why is it crucial?" Lyra spun around, gesturing toward a shadowy recess in the cave. "It's there, a mechanism that can incapacitate their vessel. Without it, we're trapped." Alex nodded sharply. "Okay, we'll retrieve it, but we need to move fast." They sprinted through the cavern, their footfalls resounding in the confined passage. Illumination from peculiar apparatuses lit their way, throwing flickering shadows against the stone. Alex stole a glance at Lyra. She glided with an uncanny elegance, as though she were part of this place, while he felt like a trespasser. They arrived at a stone plinth, and Lyra halted, breathless. Atop it rested a small orb, glowing with a soft azure hue. "There it is," she murmured, her voice quivering with feeling. "My race's relic." Alex approached, but before he could lay a hand on it, a blast rocked the cave's mouth. The earth quaked, debris cascading from above. Lyra whirled around, her eyes wide with dread. "They've arrived!" No time to dawdle. Alex snatched the artifact, shoving it into his coat, then tugged Lyra to flee. The thud of boots and the snarls of their hunters reverberated behind them, drawing nearer. They erupted from the cave, the wan light of KX-47 washing over them. Alex's vessel, the Odyssey, sat nearby. But between them and safety stood a cadre of ominous shapes, the collectors, encased in ebony armor, weapons poised. "Run!" Alex shouted, pulling out his plasma gun. He squeezed off a shot, the emerald beam cutting through the atmosphere, but the foes evaded with ease. Lyra yanked his arm, her tone desperate. "No, you can't take them on. Head for the ship." They dashed with all their might, energy blasts zipping by. Adrenaline surged through Alex, making every stride feel weighty. At last, they made it to the ship, Alex smacking the console to unseal the hatch. They leaped aboard, the portal sealing after them. Alex rushed to the cockpit, hands dancing across the controls to ignite the engines. The Odyssey thrummed, then rocketed skyward, abandoning the collectors below. Yet, peril persisted. An enormous obsidian craft, menacing in design, ascended in pursuit. Alex clenched his jaw, hands tight on the helm. "You mentioned this artifact can neutralize their ship." Lyra nodded, retrieving the artifact from his coat. She set it on the console, arcane glyphs materializing. "I'll engage it, Maintain our course. Alex concentrated fiercely, evading the barrage. The radar flashed alerts, perspiration dotting his forehead. Lyra murmured in a foreign language, and the artifact flared brilliantly. Abruptly, a verdant burst exploded from the artifact, surrounding the Odyssey. Alex experienced a peculiar shock, not painful, but as though he and Lyra were linking at a deep, inexplicable level. The collector's vessel halted in the sky, its propulsion failing, then crashed to the earth. "It worked!" Lyra exclaimed, her voice brimming with elation. Alex let out a breath, relief washing over him. He looked at Lyra, and in that instant, he knew their journey had only just started. Their gazes locked, and a faint smile curved her lips. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice smooth as silk. "You rescued me." Alex grinned, a warmth blossoming within. "I couldn't abandon you, and it looks like we have more ahead of us." Lyra nodded, her eyes twinkling like distant suns. "Indeed, but at least we're together." They held each other's gaze for an extended moment, and Alex sensed an unseen connection binding them, an enigmatic link, maybe from the relic, or perhaps destiny. Regardless, he knew his existence had been irrevocably altered. As the Odyssey plunged into the infinite expanse, forsaking KX-47 and the collectors, Alex and Lyra realized they were setting forth on a path rife with peril and enigma. Yet, side by side, they would confront every challenge, and maybe they would discover something more valuable than survival, a love that defied the limits of the cosmos. The Odyssey sailed through the velvet black of space, its engines humming a steady rhythm that felt like the heartbeat of the universe itself. Alex leaned back in the pilot's chair, his hands still tingling from the adrenaline of their escape from KX-47. The collector's ship was a fading memory, a dark speck lost in the planet's dust clouds. But the weight of their pursuit lingered like a shadow. He glanced at Lyra, who sat in the co-pilot's seat, her luminous skin catching the faint glow of the cockpit's controls. Her eyes, now a deep violet, studied the artifact in her hands, a glowing orb that pulsed faintly, as if alive. The relic that had saved them, the relic that had, somehow, sparked something between them. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, but it was charged, heavy with unspoken questions and a current Alex couldn't name. Every so often, their eyes met, and each glance felt like a brush of electricity, a pull that made his pulse quicken. He cleared his throat, forcing his focus back to the navigation panel. "We're clear for now," he said, his voice rougher than he intended. "But we need to figure out where we're going. The collectors won't give up that easily." Lyra's fingers tightened around the artifact, her gaze flickering to him. "They won't," she agreed, her voice soft but edged with steel. "They've hunted my kind for centuries, tearing through systems to claim what isn't theirs. This," she lifted the orb slightly, "is more than a weapon. It's a key, a map to my people's sanctuary." "A sanctuary?" Alex raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite the danger. "What kind of sanctuary?" Her lips parted, then hesitated, as if weighing how much to reveal. "A hidden world," she said finally, her tone almost a whisper. "A place where my race thrives, beyond the reach of the collectors. But to get there, we need to activate the relic fully, and that requires something they never anticipated." He waited, sensing the gravity in her pause. "What does it require?" Lyra's eyes locked onto his, and the violet deepened, swirling with colors that seemed to dance like nebula. "A connection," she said, her voice dropping to a husky murmur. "A bond between two beings, a sharing of essence." Alex's breath caught, the way she said it, her gaze intense, her lips curving just enough to hint at something forbidden, sent a shiver down his spine. "Essence?" he echoed, trying to keep his tone steady. "You mean, like, energy? Or something else?" She leaned closer, her hair floating slightly, brushing against his arm. The contact, however brief, felt like a spark igniting dry tinder. Something deeper, she murmured. My people connect through touch, through will. The relic amplifies it, but it needs trust, intimacy. His mouth went dry. Intimacy. The word hung between them, thick with possibility. He wasn't naive. He'd felt the pull toward her from the moment their eyes met in that cave. But this was uncharted territory, a dance on the edge of something wild and unknown. And you think, we can do that? He asked, his voice low, almost a challenge. Lyra's smile was small but electric, her eyes never leaving his. I felt it when the relic activated, didn't you? That moment when it linked us, when you felt me, inside you. He couldn't deny it. When the relic had flared, saving them from the collectors, there'd been a sensation, a fleeting, electric warmth, like her presence had brushed against his soul. It wasn't just physical. It was as if their thoughts, their fears, had intertwined for a heartbeat. Yeah, he admitted, his gaze dropping to her lips before snapping back to her eyes. I felt it. Then you know it's possible, she said, her voice a caress. She set the relic down on the console and slid closer, her movements fluid, almost predatory. The collectors are coming. Alex, they'll track the relic's signature. We have hours, maybe less, before they find us. If we're to reach the sanctuary, we need to act now. His heart pounded, torn between the thrill of her nearness and the danger closing in. What do we do? He asked, though part of him already knew the answer. She reached out, her fingers grazing his wrist, cool and soft, yet sending heat racing through him. We let the relic guide us, she whispered. We open ourselves to it, to each other. Before he could respond, an alarm blared through the cockpit, shattering the moment. The radar screen flashed red, a sleek, angular ship emerging from hyperspace just beyond their sensors' range. The collectors. They were faster than he'd hoped. Damn it, Alex muttered, snapping back to the controls. Hold on! He banked the Odyssey hard, diving toward a nearby asteroid field. The jagged rocks loomed like silent sentinels, offering a chance to lose their pursuers. The ship shuddered as he wove through the debris, his hands steady despite the chaos. Lyra gripped the console, her eyes darting between the radar and Alex. They're locking weapons, she warned, her voice sharp. We can't outrun them forever. I know, he growled, dodging a massive asteroid that spun dangerously close. Can you activate that relic now? Buy us some time? She nodded, her fingers flying over the artifact. Its glow intensified, casting eerie shadows across her face. It needs us both, she said urgently. Touch it with me. Alex hesitated for a split second, then reached out, his hand covering hers on the orb. The moment their skin met, a pulse of energy surged through him, warm and electric, like a current binding them together. His vision blurred, and for an instant, he saw flashes of her, memories, emotions, a life among stars he couldn't comprehend. Her fear, her strength, her longing. It was overwhelming, intoxicating. Focus, she breathed, her voice anchoring him. Feel me. Let it flow. He did, pouring his will into the relic, though he wasn't sure how. The cockpit seemed to fade, the alarms a distant hum, as their connection deepened. Her breath hitched, and he felt it as if it were his own. Her fingers tightened on his, her body inching closer until their shoulders brushed. The air between them crackled, not just with the relic's power, but with something raw, primal. The Odyssey jolted, a glancing blow from a collector projectile. Alex snapped back to reality, his hand still on hers. Did it work? He asked him, breathless. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Almost, she said, her voice husky. It needs more of us. Before he could ask what she meant, she leaned in, her lips hovering inches from his. The scent of her, something sweet and alien, like blooming flowers from another world, filled his senses. "Trust me," she whispered, and then she kissed him. It wasn't gentle, it was fierce, hungry, a collision of need and desperation. Her lips were cool at first, then warmed against his, moving with a rhythm that felt like it was pulling him apart and putting him back together. The relic pulsed brighter, its light bathing the cockpit in blue, and Alex felt it again. That connection, deeper now, like their souls were entwining. Her hands slid to his chest, fingers digging into his jacket, and he pulled her closer, lost in the heat of her touch. The alarm screamed again, dragging him back. He broke the kiss, gasping, his forehead resting against hers. "Lyra," he rasped. "What was that?" She smiled, a mix of mischief and urgency. "The beginning," she said. "The relic is charged, but it needs time to fully activate. Keep us alive until then." He nodded, his mind reeling from her taste, her closeness. He turned back to the controls, diving deeper into the asteroid field. The collector's ship was relentless, its weapons carving through the rocks. Alex pushed the Odyssey to its limits, weaving and spinning, his focus razor-sharp despite the fire in his blood. Lyra worked beside him, her hands steady on the relic as she murmured in her strange language. The orb's light grew, its pulses syncing with their heartbeats. Every so often, her arm brushed his, and the contact sent sparks through him, a reminder of the kiss that still burned on his lips. "We're close," she said suddenly, her voice tight with excitement. "The relic's almost ready. If we can hold them off a little longer, it'll open a path to the sanctuary." Alex gritted his teeth, dodging another blast. "Then let's make it happen." The asteroid field thinned, leaving them exposed. The collector's ship loomed closer, its weapons charging for a fatal shot. Lyra's hand found his again, her touch grounding him. "Together," she said, her eyes blazing with determination and something deeper, something that made his heart race for reasons beyond the chase. As the relic flared brighter than ever, Alex felt a surge of hope. They were bound now, not just by survival but by something greater, something that pulsed like the stars themselves. The collectors were closing in, but Alex and Lyra were ready to fight, to flee, to become whatever the universe demanded, together. The Odyssey sliced through the asteroid field, its hull groaning under the strain of Alex's reckless maneuvers. The cockpit was a symphony of chaos, blaring alarms, flashing red warnings, and the relentless pulse of the relic on the console, its azure glow now so intense it bathed Alex and Lyra in an otherworldly light. Her hand still rested on his, their fingers intertwined over the artifact, and the heat of her touch lingered like an echo of their kiss. That kiss, fierce, desperate, electric, had ignited something in Alex, a fire that burned even as death loomed behind them. The collector's ship was gaining, its sleek form cutting through the void like a predator closing on its prey. "Almost there," Lyra whispered, her voice taut with focus as she leaned over the relic. Her luminous hair floated around her face, catching the light like a halo, but her eyes, now a molten silver, were fixed on the orb. The strange symbols on its surface swirled faster, responding to her murmured chants. "Just a little more, and it'll open the path." Alex didn't dare look away from the view screen, his hands dancing across the controls as he dodged another barrage of energy blasts. The collectors were relentless, their weapons carving glowing arcs through the asteroid field. A glancing hit rocked the Odyssey, and Alex cursed under his breath. "How much longer?" he asked, his voice sharp with urgency. "We're running out of room to run." "Not long," she replied, her tone steady despite the chaos. "But it needs us, both of us. Keep your hand on the relic. Don't let go." He tightened his grip, feeling the orb's warmth pulse through his palm, syncing with the rhythm of his heart. It was more than just energy now. It was as if the relic was weaving their essences together, pulling their thoughts, their fears, their desires into a single thread. Every time Lyra's fingers brushed his, a jolt shot through him, a reminder of the connection they'd forged in that fleeting, fiery kiss. It was intoxicating, dangerous, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they were teetering on the edge of something far bigger than survival. The radar screamed a warning, a missile lock. Alex's stomach dropped. "They've got us targeted," he said, his voice grim. "Hold on tight." He yanked the controls, sending the Odyssey into a spiraling dive. The asteroid field was a maze of death, jagged rocks spinning perilously close. But Alex navigated with a precision born of desperation. The missile grazed their hull, detonating against an asteroid in a burst of white-hot light. The shockwave rattled the ship, and Lyra gasped, her free hand clutching his shoulder for balance. Her touch sent a shiver down his spine, grounding him even as the universe seemed to unravel. "Lyra, we can't keep this up," he said, his eyes flicking to her. "If that relic doesn't work soon—" "It will," she cut in, her voice fierce. "Trust me, Alex. Trust us." Her words hit him like a spark. Trust. It was a fragile thing in a galaxy full of betrayal. Yet with her, it felt instinctive, inevitable. He nodded, focusing on the controls as the collector's ship loomed closer, its weapons charging for another strike. The relic's glow surged, and Lyra's chants grew louder, her voice weaving a melody that seemed to hum through the very walls of the Odyssey. Then, without warning, the relic flared, blindingly bright, and a low, resonant hum filled the cockpit. Alex felt a pull, not just in his hand, but in his chest, as if the artifact was reaching into his core. Lyra's eyes widened, her breath hitching. "It's happening," she whispered, her voice trembling with awe. "The path is opening." Before he could ask what she meant, the view screen flickered, and the asteroid field vanished. In its place was a shimmering vortex, a tear in the fabric of space, swirling with colors Alex couldn't name. It was beautiful, terrifying, like staring into the heart of creation itself. "What the hell is that?" he breathed, his hands frozen on the controls. "The gateway to the sanctuary," Lyra said, her voice reverent. "The relic's power, it's tearing through dimensions to take us there. But we have to go now, before the collectors follow." Alex didn't hesitate. He pushed the Odyssey toward the vortex, the ship shuddering as it crossed the threshold. The cockpit seemed to warp, the air growing thick, heavy with an energy that pressed against his skin. Lyra's hand tightened on his, her touch an anchor in the chaos. For a moment, time itself seemed to pause, and Alex felt her presence more intensely than ever, her fear, her hope, her heartbeat echoing in his own. Then, with a jolt, they were through. The vortex spat them out into a new expanse of space, a star field unlike any Alex had seen. Nebulae swirled in vibrant hues, and in the distance a planet glowed, its surface a mosaic of silver and green. The sanctuary. It was breathtaking, but there was no time to marvel. The radar blipped, and Alex's heart sank. The collector's ship had followed them through. "They're still on us," he said, his voice tight. "That relic, can it do anything else?" Lyra's face was pale, her eyes darting to the orb. "It's drained," she said, her voice cracking. "The jump took everything. We need to reach the planet before they catch us." Alex cursed, pushing the engines to their limit. The Odyssey roared toward the planet, but the collectors were faster, their ship closing the gap with terrifying speed. A blast struck their rear shields, and the cockpit shook violently. Lyra stumbled, falling against Alex, her body pressed against his. For a fleeting second, their eyes locked, and the heat of her closeness sent a surge of desire through him, sharp and undeniable. "Alex," she whispered, her breath warm against his cheek. "If we don't make it, we will." He cut her off, his voice fierce. "I'm not losing you now." Her lips curved, a mix of defiance and something softer, more vulnerable. "Then fly like you mean it." He grinned despite the danger, a reckless edge to it. "Always do." The planet loomed closer, its atmosphere a shimmering veil. But the collectors were relentless, their weapons locking again. Alex's mind raced, searching for a way out. Then Lyra gasped, pointing to the relic. It was glowing again, faintly, as if stirring back to life. "It's responding to us," she said, her voice urgent. "Our connection. It's recharging it." "What do we do?" he asked, dodging another blast. The Odyssey's shields were failing, the warning lights a sea of red. "Give it everything," she said, her eyes blazing. She grabbed his face, pulling him into another kiss, deep, urgent, a collision of need and survival. The relic flared, its light engulfing them, and Alex felt it again, that fusion of their essences, stronger now, like a supernova igniting in his chest. Her taste, her heat, her very being flooded his senses, and he poured himself into the kiss, into her, into the relic. The orb erupted in a wave of energy, a shock wave that rippled outward. The collector's ship faltered, its systems flickering, and Alex seized the chance. He dove for the planet, the Odyssey screaming through the atmosphere. The surface rushed up to meet them, lush, alien forests and gleaming spires unlike anything on Earth. They were close, so close. But as they descended, a new alarm blared. The view screen flickered, revealing a figure on the collector's ship, a humanoid silhouette, its features obscured but radiating menace. A voice crackled through the comms, cold and mechanical. "You cannot hide her, human. She belongs to us. And so will you." Alex's blood ran cold. The voice wasn't just threatening, it was personal, as if it knew him. Lyra's hand tightened on his, her eyes wide with a fear she hadn't shown before. "That's him," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "The Overseer. He's not like the others." "Who is he?" Alex demanded, his voice low as he guided the ship toward a clearing. Lyra's gaze was haunted, her voice trembling. "He's the one who took me, the one who marked me." The revelation hit Alex like a punch. Marked her? What did that mean? Before he could ask, the Odyssey touched down, its landing rough but intact. The planet's air was thick, fragrant with alien flora, and the relic's glow dimmed, its power spent. They were safe for now, but the Overseer's words echoed in Alex's mind, a promise of pursuit. Lyra turned to him, her face a mix of gratitude and dread. "We made it," she said, her voice soft. "But this isn't over. The Overseer, he'll come for us." Alex reached for her, his hand cupping her cheek. Her skin was cool, yet it burned under his touch, stirring that same fire in him. "Let him come," he said, his voice steady. "We'll face him together." Her eyes softened, and she leaned into his touch, their connection pulsing stronger than ever. The sanctuary stretched out before them, a world of secrets and safety, but also danger. As they stepped out into the alien dawn, hand in hand, Alex knew they were bound by more than survival. Something deeper, wilder, was growing between them, and no Overseer, no collector, could tear it apart. The alien dawn broke over the sanctuary planet, casting a golden-green glow across a landscape that seemed to hum with life. Towering trees with crystalline leaves shimmered in the breeze, their branches swaying like a chorus of whispers, while distant spires gleamed like beacons against the horizon. Alex and Lyra stood just outside the Odyssey, their hands still clasped, the warmth of their touch a quiet anchor after the chaos of their escape. The Overseer's chilling words echoed in Alex's mind. "She belongs to us, and so will you." And Lyra's revelation about being marked hung between them like a storm cloud. Yet in this fleeting moment of calm, the air was thick with something else, the unspoken pull of their bond, electric and undeniable, sparked by the relic and sealed by their desperate kisses. Lyra's luminous skin caught the dawn's light, making her look like a goddess carved from starlight. Her eyes, now a soft amber, flickered with a mix of relief and unease as she scanned the alien forest. "This is Elaris," she said, her voice low, almost reverent. My people's last refuge. We're safe here, for now. Alex nodded, his thumb brushing absently over her knuckles, sending a jolt through him. He forced himself to focus, though her closeness made it hard to think straight. Safe sounds good, he said, managing a grin despite the tension. But what's this about the overseer marking you? That's not exactly a welcome to the sanctuary kind of vibe. Lyra's expression tightened, and she pulled her hand away, wrapping her arms around herself. It's complicated, she murmured, her gaze dropping to the ground. The overseer didn't just capture me, he bound me to him, in a way, a psychic tether. It's how he's tracking us. Alex's stomach twisted. A psychic tether? Like, he's in your head? The thought of some alien creep lurking in Lyra's mind made his blood boil, but he kept his tone light, trying to ease the moment. Great, so not only are we dodging space pirates, but now we've got a telepathic stalker. My dating profile's gonna need a serious update after this. Lyra blinked, then let out a surprised laugh, the sound bright and musical despite the circumstances. Dating profile, she asked, tilting her head, her hair floating curiously. Is that a human ritual? He chuckled, scratching the back of his neck, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. Yeah, something like that. A way to find someone special. Not that I'm, I mean, he trailed off, his face heating up. Smooth. Alex. Real smooth. Her lips curved into a teasing smile, and she stepped closer, her voice dropping to a playful murmur. Am I someone special? Alex Carter. Her eyes sparkled with mischief, but there was a heat beneath it that made his heart skip. Before he could stumble through a response, a low hum vibrated through the air, and the ground trembled faintly. Alex tensed, his hand instinctively going to his plasma pistol. Please tell me that's just the planet saying hello. Lyra's smile vanished, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the trees. No, she whispered. It's them, the collectors. They've found us. As if on cue, a shadow passed overhead, a sleek, predatory drone, its surface glinting like obsidian. Alex grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her toward the cover of the crystalline trees. So much for sanctuary, he muttered, his voice tight. Any chance that relic's got another trick up its sleeve? Lyra clutched the orb, its glow dim but stirring faintly, as if sensing their danger. It's still recharging, she said, her tone urgent. But there's a temple nearby, a sacred site. If we can reach it, the relic can connect to Elaris's energy and shield us. Then let's move, Alex said, his eyes locked on the drone as it circled above. They sprinted into the forest, the crystalline leaves chiming softly as they brushed past. The air was thick with the scent of alien blossoms, sweet and heady, but the beauty was overshadowed by the growing hum of more drones closing in. They wove through the trees, Lyra leading the way with an uncanny grace, her movements fluid despite the uneven terrain. Alex followed, his boots crunching on the ground, his senses sharp for any sign of pursuit. Every so often, their shoulders brushed, and the contact sent a spark through him, a reminder of the relic's power and the kiss that had bound them. He tried to focus, but the memory of her lips, her taste, kept creeping into his thoughts. Not the time. Carter, he scolded himself, though a part of him wondered if there'd ever be a right time in this galaxy-spanning mess. They reached a clearing, and Alex's breath caught. Before them stood a massive structure, a temple carved from translucent stone, its spires spiraling toward the sky like frozen flames. It pulsed with a faint light, as if alive, and Alex felt the relic in Lyra's hands hum in response. This is it, she said, her voice breathless with awe. The Temple of Ether. If we can get inside. A blast of energy tore through the clearing, shattering a nearby tree into a shower of crystalline shards. Alex dove, tackling Lyra to the ground, his body shielding hers as more blasts rained down. Drones swarmed above, their red sensors glowing like malevolent eyes. "Okay, new plan," he said, his voice muffled against her shoulder. "We run, we fight, or we kiss the relic into overdrive again. Your call." Lyra's laugh was strained but genuine, her body warm beneath his. "You're impossible," she said, her eyes glinting with a mix of fear and amusement. "But I like the kissing option." He grinned, despite the danger, and rolled off her, pulling her to her feet. "Hold that thought. First, we survive." They bolted for the temple, dodging blasts as the drones closed in. The relic's glow flickered, responding to their proximity to the sacred site. Lyra clutched it tightly, her lips moving in a silent chant. Alex fired his pistol, taking out a drone in a burst of sparks, but more appeared, relentless. The temple's entrance loomed ahead, a glowing archway that seemed to beckon them. They dove through the arch, landing hard on the smooth stone floor inside. The temple hummed, its walls vibrating with an ancient energy that made Alex's skin prickle. Lyra scrambled to her knees, placing the relic on a pedestal at the room's center. It flared to life, its light merging with the temple's, creating a shimmering barrier that sealed the entrance just as a drone's blast struck it. The energy fizzled harmlessly against the shield. Alex exhaled, slumping against the wall. "Well, that was fun," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Remind me to pack better running shoes next time." Lyra laughed, a sound that eased the tension in his chest. She stood, her silhouette framed by the temple's glow, and extended a hand to help him up. "You're not bad for a human," she teased, her voice warm. "Most would have run screaming by now." He took her hand, standing closer than necessary, the air between them charged. "Yeah, well, most humans don't get to save a galactic goddess," he said, his tone half joking, half serious. Her smile faltered, and for a moment, her eyes held something deeper, vulnerability, desire, a question neither of them was ready to answer. Before he could say more, the relic pulsed, and the temple's walls shimmered, revealing holographic patterns that shifted like liquid starlight. Lyra's breath caught. "It's activating," she said, her voice hushed. "The temple is reading us, our bond." Alex raised an eyebrow, trying to ignore the heat rising in him at her words. "Reading us? Like, what? Grading our teamwork?" She shot him a playful glare, but her expression turned serious. "The relic and the temple work together. They need harmony, trust, connection. That's why the overseer marked me. He tried to force a bond, to control me, but with you." She hesitated, her cheeks shimmering faintly, as if blushing in her alien way. "It's different. It's real." His heart skipped, and he stepped closer, unable to resist the pull. "Real, huh?" he said softly, his hand brushing hers. "So, what? We just keep kissing to save the galaxy?" Her laugh was brighter this time, but her eyes darkened with something sultry. "Maybe," she murmured, leaning in until their breaths mingled. "But it's more than that. The temple sees us, our hearts, our desires. If we're not honest, it won't protect us." The words hung heavy, and Alex felt exposed, as if the temple were peering into his soul. Before he could respond, a deep rumble shook the structure, and the holographic patterns flickered. Lyra's eyes widened. "The overseer," she whispered. "He's trying to break through." A cold voice echoed through the temple, the same mechanical tone from the comms. "You cannot hide, Lyra. Your bond with the human is weak. I will claim you, and the relic." Alex's jaw clenched. "Oh, hell no," he muttered, grabbing his pistol. "This guy's got a serious boundary problem." Lyra's hand found his, her touch steadying him. "We need to strengthen the bond," she said, her voice urgent but soft. "The temple will amplify the relic, but only if we give it everything. Our trust, our truth." He looked into her eyes, seeing the fire there, the courage, the need. I'm in, he said, his voice firm. Whatever it takes. She nodded, her fingers tightening on his. The relic flared, and the temple's energy surged, wrapping them in a cocoon of light. As the overseer's drones hammered at the barrier, Alex and Lyra stood together, their connection a defiance against the darkness. The drama was far from over, and the awkward, thrilling pull between them was only beginning to unravel the secrets of Elaris and their own hearts. The Temple of Ether pulsed with a living energy, its translucent walls shimmering like liquid starlight as the holographic patterns swirled around Alex and Lyra. The relic on the pedestal glowed fiercely, its azure light syncing with the temple's rhythm, casting their silhouettes in a dance of shadow and radiance. Outside, the overseer's drones battered the energy barrier, each impact sending tremors through the stone floor. But within these sacred walls, time seemed to slow, wrapping Alex and Lyra in a cocoon of heat and anticipation. Their hands were still joined, their fingers laced tightly, and the air between them crackled with a desire that had been building since their first kiss. A desire now amplified by the temple's ancient power and the urgent need to strengthen their bond. Lyra's amber eyes held Alex's, her gaze intense yet vulnerable, as if she were offering him a piece of her soul. "The temple demands truth," she whispered, her voice a soft caress that sent a shiver down his spine. "To shield us from the overseer, we must deepen our connection, open ourselves completely. Are you ready?" Alex's heart pounded, his breath uneven as he felt the weight of her words. The overseer's cold voice still echoed in his mind. "Your bond with the human is weak." And the thought of that monster claiming Lyra fueled a protective fire in him. But it was more than that. The pull he felt toward her, the way her touch set his nerves alight, was unlike anything he'd ever known. "I'm ready," he said, his voice low and steady, though his pulse raced. "But what does this mean exactly? Opening ourselves?" Her lips curved into a small, knowing smile, and she stepped closer, her body brushing against his. The contact was electric, her luminous skin warmed through the thin fabric of her alien garment, and Alex's breath hitched. "It means letting go," she murmured, her lips so close he could feel her breath against his cheek. "No walls, no fear, just us, sharing everything, heart, mind, body." The word body sent a rush of heat through him, and he swallowed hard, trying to keep his thoughts clear. The temple's energy seemed to amplify every sensation, making her nearness almost overwhelming. "Sounds intense," he said, a nervous chuckle escaping him. "You sure this isn't just the galaxy's fanciest date night?" Lyra's laugh was soft, her eyes sparkling with a mix of amusement and desire. "If it is," she teased, "you're doing rather well for a first date." Her hand slid up his arm, resting on his chest, and he felt his heartbeat quicken beneath her touch. "But this is more than that. The relic in the temple. They see us, feel us. Our bond will power them, but only if we trust each other completely." Alex nodded, his hand finding her waist, pulling her closer. "I trust you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "More than I've ever trusted anyone." Her eyes softened, and for a moment, the danger outside, the drones, the overseer, faded away. She leaned in, her lips brushing his in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened, a slow burn igniting into something fierce. Her taste was sweet, alien, like nectar from a forbidden flower, and Alex lost himself in it, his hands roaming her back, tracing the curve of her spine. Her garment was impossibly soft, clinging to her form, and every touch sent sparks through him, as if the temple were weaving their desires into its very walls. The relic flared brighter, its light pulsing in time with their breaths, and Alex felt it again, that connection, deeper now, like their souls were tangling together. Lyra's hand slid under his jacket, her fingers cool against his skin, and he gasped against her lips, the sensation overwhelming. Lyra, he murmured, his voice thick with need. This, it's like you're inside me. I am, she whispered, her voice husky, her lips grazing his jaw. And you're inside me. The temple's amplifying it, binding us. Can you feel it? He could. It wasn't just physical, though the heat of her body, the press of her curves, was driving him wild. It was as if he could sense her emotions, her thoughts, flickering like starlight in his mind. Her courage, her fear, her longing for him. It was intimate in a way that went beyond touch, and it made every moment more intense, more real. The temple trembled again, a reminder of the danger outside. Lyra pulled back slightly, her chest rising and falling, her eyes dark with desire, but sharp with urgency. We need to focus, she said, though her voice betrayed her own struggle to stay grounded. The relic's almost charged, but the overseer's tether, it's fighting us. I can feel him, trying to pull me back. Alex's jaw clenched, anger flaring at the thought of the overseer's psychic hold on her. He's not taking you, he said fiercely, his hand cupping her face. Not now, not ever. Her smile was shaky but grateful, and she leaned into his touch. Then help me break it, she said. The temple can sever the tether, but it needs more of us. Everything we have. He didn't need to ask what she meant. The air was thick with their shared need, the relic's glow urging them on. He kissed her again, deeper, more desperate, pouring every ounce of himself into it, his protectiveness, his desire, his trust. Lyra responded with equal intensity, her hands tugging at his jacket, pulling it off his shoulders. The temple's energy swirled around them, warm and vibrant, like a living embrace, and Alex felt the relic's power surge, its light now a radiant blue that filled the chamber. Their movements grew bolder, guided by instinct and the temple's ancient rhythm. Lyra's garment shimmered, parting under his touch, revealing more of her glowing skin, and Alex's breath caught at her beauty, otherworldly, yet so human in her vulnerability. His shirt followed, discarded somewhere in the haze, and her hands explored his chest, her touch igniting trails of heat. Every caress, every shared breath, strengthened their bond, and the relic responded, its pulses growing faster, more powerful. The temple shook violently, and Lyra gasped, her eyes snapping open. He's close, she said, her voice tight with fear. The overseer, he's breaking through the barrier. Alex held her tighter, his lips brushing her forehead. Let him try, he growled. We're stronger than him. She nodded, her resolve hardening, and they turned to the relic, their hands joining over it once more. The temple's energy surged through them, a torrent of light and heat, and Alex felt the overseer's tether, like a cold, invasive thread in Lyra's mind. Together, they pushed against it, their bond a blazing fire that burned away the darkness. Lyra cried out, a sound of pain and triumph, and the tether snapped, leaving only their connection, pure and unbroken. The relic erupted in a final burst of light, and the temple's barrier flared, repelling the drones outside with a deafening boom. The chamber fell silent, save for their ragged breaths. Lyra slumped against Alex, her body trembling, and he caught her, holding her close. Her skin was warm now, her glow softer, and he pressed a gentle kiss to her temple, his heart swelling with relief and something deeper, something he wasn't ready to name. We did it, she whispered, her voice raw but filled with awe. The tether's gone. The temple's protecting us. Alex smiled, brushing a strand of her luminous hair from her face. Told you we're a good team, he said, his tone light but his eyes serious. But what now? The overseer's not going to take this lying down. Lyra's expression darkened, but her hand found his, their fingers lacing together. He'll come for us, she said. The collectors never stop, but here, in Elaris, we have a chance. My people, they'll help us, if we can reach them. He nodded, his thumb tracing circles on her hand, the simple touch grounding them both. Then we find them, he said, together. She looked up at him, her eyes now a warm gold, filled with gratitude and something more, a promise of what their bond could become. The temple's glow dimmed, its work done for now, but the connection between them burned brighter than ever. Outside, the Overseer's forces regrouped, their threat looming like a storm on the horizon. But in this moment, Alex and Lyra stood united, their hearts and bodies entwined, ready to face whatever the galaxy threw at them. The Temple of Ether stood silent now, its shimmering walls dimmed to a soft, opalescent glow, as if resting after the surge of energy that had severed the Overseer's psychic tether. Alex and Lyra lingered in the chamber, their breaths still uneven, their bodies close enough to feel the warmth of each other's presence. The relic on the pedestal pulsed faintly, a quiet reminder of the bond they'd forged, a bond that had burned through their fears, their desires, and the Overseer's hold on Lyra. Alex's hand rested on hers, their fingers intertwined, and the simple touch felt like a lifeline in the aftermath of their intense connection. Outside, the collector's drones had retreated, their assault thwarted by the temple's power. But the threat of the Overseer loomed like a dark star on the horizon. Lyra's golden eyes met Alex's, her expression a mix of relief and determination. "We can't stay here long," she said, her voice soft but resolute. "The temple's shield will hold for now, but the Overseer will find another way. We need to reach my people, the Ilarians. They're hidden deep in Elaris's core, in a city protected by ancient defenses." Alex nodded, his thumb brushing over her knuckles, sending a quiet spark through him. "Then let's find them," he said, his tone steady despite the weight of their situation. "But first, you owe me a crash course on these Ilarians. If I'm going to meet your family, I'd like to know what I'm walking into." He flashed a playful grin, trying to ease the tension, though his heart still raced from their earlier closeness. Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile, her eyes glinting with amusement. "My family is complicated," she said, her voice teasing but tinged with something deeper. Hesitation. Maybe. "The Ilarians are guardians of knowledge, keepers of relics like this one. They'll see you as an outsider. But our bond—" She paused, her gaze dropping to their joined hands, her voice softening. "It will prove you're more than that." The word bond stirred something in Alex, a warmth that went beyond the physical pull between them. He leaned closer, his voice low. "This bond, it's more than just the relic, isn't it? I felt you, Lyra. Not just your thoughts, but you. Like we're part of each other." Her eyes shimmered and she nodded, her breath catching. "It is," she whispered. "The relic amplifies what's already there. What we feel, it's real." Her hand tightened on his, and for a moment, the galaxy's dangers faded, leaving only the electric hum of their connection. Before Alex could respond, the temple's walls pulsed, and a low melodic chime echoed through the chamber. The holographic patterns reappeared, swirling faster, forming intricate shapes that seemed to beckon them deeper. Lyra's expression shifted, her eyes narrowing. "The temple's guiding us," she said, her voice urgent. "It's showing us the path to the Ilarian city." Alex grabbed the relic, its warmth pulsing against his palm, and followed Lyra as she led the way through a hidden passage that opened in the chamber's wall. The tunnel was narrow, its walls etched with glowing runes that cast a soft light on Lyra's luminous form. Every step brought them closer to her people, but Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The Overseer's retreat had been too sudden, and Lyra's hesitation about her family lingered in his mind. The passage opened into a vast underground chamber, a breathtaking expanse of crystalline structures that shimmered like a frozen galaxy. Bridges of light arced over chasms, leading to a distant city that glowed with an ethereal radiance, the Ilarian stronghold. Alex's jaw dropped. "Okay," he said, his voice awed. This is officially cooler than any space station I've ever seen. Lyra's laugh was soft, but her eyes scanned the chamber warily. It's beautiful, she said, but beauty hides danger here. The Elarians guard their secrets fiercely. They crossed a bridge, the relic's glow guiding their steps. But as they neared the city, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, robed Elarian with skin like polished silver and eyes that burned with an unsettling intensity. Lyra froze, her hand tightening on Alex's. "Kyle," she whispered, her voice laced with a mix of relief and dread. "Lyra," the figure said, his voice smooth but cold, like ice over steel. "You've returned, and with a human." His gaze flicked to Alex, sharp and dismissive, before settling on the relic. "You bring the ether key, but at what cost?" Alex bristled, stepping forward. "The cost was nearly getting blasted to bits by the collectors," he said, his tone sharp. "Lyra's alive because of me, so maybe skip the attitude and help us." Kale's eyes narrowed, but Lyra placed a hand on Alex's arm, her touch calming him. "Kale is an elder," she said quietly. "He speaks for the council. Please, Kyle, we need sanctuary. The overseer is hunting us." Kyle's expression darkened. "The overseer," he said, his voice heavy. "His mark on you was a blight, but you claim it's gone." He stepped closer, his gaze piercing, as if seeing through her. Lyra nodded, her chin lifting defiantly. "The temple severed it. Our bond, Alex and I, freed me." Kyle's eyes flicked between them, and a faint sneer curled his lips. "A human bond? Curious. The council will judge its worth." He gestured toward the city. "Come." They await. As they followed Kyle, Alex leaned close to Lyra, his voice low. "This guy's a real charmer," he muttered. "What's his deal?" Lyra's lips twitched, but her eyes were troubled. "Kyle, he was promised to me before I was taken. A union to strengthen our people. He won't take kindly to us." Alex's stomach dropped. "Promised? As in, engaged?" He tried to keep his tone light, but jealousy flared, sharp and unexpected. "You didn't mention an alien fiancé." Her eyes softened, and she squeezed his hand. "It was politics, not love," she said. "What I feel for you, it's different, real." Her words eased the knot in his chest, but Kale's presence loomed like a storm. They entered the city, a labyrinth of glowing spires and floating platforms, where Elarians watched them with curious, guarded eyes. The council chamber was a domed hall, its ceiling a mosaic of stars. 5 elders sat on elevated thrones, their gazes heavy as they studied Alex and Lyra. The lead elder, a woman with hair like molten light, spoke first. "Lyra, you've returned with the ether key," she said, her voice resonant. "But you bring a human, and a bond that defies our laws. Explain." Lyra stepped forward, the relic in her hands. "The overseer hunted me for this," she said, her voice steady. "Alex saved me, and our bond powered the relic, severing the overseer's tether. Without him, I'd be lost." Murmurs rippled through the council, but Kyle's voice cut through, sharp and accusing. "A human cannot wield Elarian power," he said. "This bond is unnatural. The overseer's mark may linger, twisting her mind." Alex's temper flared. "Twisting her mind? She's stronger than any of you give her credit for. We fought off the collectors together, and that relic lit up because of us. So maybe rethink the unnatural jab." The lead elder raised a hand, silencing the room. "The ether key will reveal the truth," she said. "Place it in the nexus." Lyra approached a glowing pedestal, setting the relic in place. It flared, and the chamber filled with light, holographic images swirling, memories of their journey, their kisses, their bond. Alex's face burned as the intimate moments played out, but Lyra stood tall, unashamed. The elders watched, their expressions unreadable, until the images shifted, revealing something new. A dark figure emerged, the overseer, his form cloaked in shadow, but his voice was unmistakable. Lyra was never yours to save. Human, he said, his words dripping with malice. She was chosen, by me, by destiny. Her bond with you is a lie, a spark I ignited to draw her back. The chamber gasped, and Alex's heart stopped. Lyra's eyes widened, her face paling. No, she whispered, her voice breaking. That's not true. The overseer's image laughed, cold and cruel. The relic's power was my design, he said. Your bond, your desire, it was all a manipulation, a tether stronger than the one you broke. You're still mine, Lyra, and the human will die for touching what's forbidden. The hologram faded, and silence fell, heavy and suffocating. Alex turned to Lyra, his mind reeling. Is he lying? He asked, his voice raw. Did he make us feel this? Lyra's eyes filled with tears, her hands trembling. I don't know, she whispered. I felt you, our bond. It was real. But if he's telling the truth, she trailed off, her gaze haunted. Cal stepped forward, his voice triumphant. The human is a pawn, he said. The overseer's taint lingers. Lyra must be cleansed, and the human banished. The lead elder nodded gravely. The council will decide your fate, she said. Until then, you are confined. As guards moved to separate them, Alex grabbed Lyra's hand, his heart pounding. We're not done, he said fiercely, his eyes locked on hers. I don't care what he says. What we have, it's ours, not his. Lyra's tears fell, but she nodded, her grip tight. I believe you, she whispered. Find the truth. Alex, for us. As they were pulled apart, the overseer's words echoed, a twist that shattered everything Alex thought he knew. Was their bond a lie? Or was the overseer playing a crueler game? The answers lay in Elaris's depths, and Alex vowed to uncover them, no matter the cost. The Elarian guards led Alex and Lyra through the glowing spires of the city, their crystalline boots echoing on the polished floors of Elaris's stronghold. The air was heavy with the weight of the overseer's words, his cruel hologram still burning in Alex's mind. Your bond, your desire, it was all a manipulation. Lyra's tear-streaked face haunted him as they were separated. Her whispered plea, find the truth, Alex, for us, ringing in his ears. The council's decree to confine them felt like a cage closing in. But Alex's resolve burned brighter than ever. He didn't care if the overseer had twisted their bond. What he felt for Lyra was real, and he'd fight a whole galaxy to prove it. They were taken to separate chambers, but Alex's confinement was more like a guest suite carved from translucent stone, its walls pulsing with a soft, golden light. A narrow window overlooked the city's shimmering expanse, but the beauty did little to ease the knot in his chest. He paced, his mind racing. Was their connection a lie, engineered by the overseer to trap Lyra? Or was it something deeper, something even an alien warlord couldn't touch? The memory of her touch, her lips, her warmth in the temple, it felt too vivid, too real to be a trick. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts, and the chamber's door slid open. To his surprise, Lyra slipped inside, her luminous hair floating around her like a halo. Her eyes, still gold but shadowed with worry, locked onto his. I bribed a guard, she whispered, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Elarian crystals are surprisingly persuasive. Alex's heart leapt, and he crossed the room in 2 strides, pulling her into his arms. You're going to get us in more trouble, he said, his voice a mix of relief and teasing. Not that I'm complaining, but sneaking around an alien city? You're making me look like the bad influence here. Her laugh was soft, a sound that eased the tension coiled inside him, but it faded quickly. She pulled back, her hands resting on his chest, her touch sending a familiar spark through him. I couldn't stay away, she said, her voice trembling. The overseer's word, they're tearing me apart. Alex. What if he's right? What if everything we feel is his doing? He cupped her face, his thumbs brushing away the traces of tears. Hey, look at me, he said, his voice firm but gentle. I don't know what that creep did, but I know how I feel when I'm with you. It's not some alien mind game. It's us. He paused, a grin breaking through. Unless you're saying you only kissed me because of some cosmic puppet strings, in which case, I'm going to need a refund on my heroics. Lyra's eyes sparkled with amusement, and she swatted his arm playfully. You're impossible, she said, but her smile was genuine, warming the space between them. But you're right. I feel it too. It's overwhelming. Her voice dropped, her gaze flickering to his lips, and the air grew thick with that familiar electric pull. Before they could close the distance, a sharp knock echoed, and the door slid open again. Alex and Lyra sprang apart, their faces flushing like teenagers caught sneaking out. Kale, the stern Ilarian elder, stood in the doorway, his silver eyes narrowing. This is highly irregular, he said, his voice dripping with disapproval. Lyra, you defy the council's orders. And you, human, he turned his glare on Alex. You tempt her into recklessness. Alex raised his hand, feigning innocence. Who? Me? I'm just a guy stuck in an alien soap opera. Blame the glowing rocks and the whole destiny vibe. He gestured vaguely at the chamber, hoping his sarcasm would diffuse the tension. Kyle's sneer deepened, but Lyra stepped forward, her chin lifted defiantly. Kyle, enough, she said. The council needs to hear us, not judge us. The overseer's threat is real, and our bond is the key to stopping him. You saw the temple's visions? It chose us. Kyle's jaw tightened, and Alex caught a flicker of something in his eyes. Jealousy, maybe, or wounded pride. The council will decide, Kyle said coldly. But there's something you should know before you stake your lives on this bond. He spat the word like it tasted bitter. The overseer's manipulation wasn't just psychic. He altered the relic itself. Alex's stomach dropped. Altered it how? He asked, his voice sharp. Kale's gaze flicked to Lyra, almost reluctant. The ether key was designed to bind two souls. Yes, but the overseer corrupted it. He laced it with a failsafe, a trigger that activates when the bond reaches its peak. If you deepen your connection further, it could consume you both. Lyra's face paled, her hand instinctively finding Alex's. Consume us? She whispered. What does that mean? Kale's voice softened, but only slightly. Your essences, your life forces, could merge completely, burning you out. You'd cease to exist as individuals, becoming something else, a single entity, bound to the relic forever. The words hit like a shockwave, and Alex's mind reeled. Merge? Become something else? The thought was horrifying, yet the idea of losing himself to Lyra, of being part of her in some cosmic way, stirred a strange, reckless longing. He shook his head, trying to clear it. So, what? We're supposed to just not feel anything? That's not exactly an option when drones are trying to blast us into stardust. Kale's eyes narrowed. The council is working to neutralize the relic's failsafe, he said, but until then, you must restrain yourselves. No more reckless displays. His gaze lingered on Lyra, a mix of protectiveness and resentment. Alex couldn't help himself. Restrain ourselves? Buddy, you tried dodging laser blasts and cosmic mind games without getting a little close. It's called survival. He winked at Lyra, who stifled a laugh, her eyes gleaming with gratitude. Kyle ignored him, addressing Lyra. The council summons you both. They've uncovered something about the overseer, something that changes everything. Come. As they followed Kyle through the city's glowing corridors, Alex leaned close to Lyra, his voice a whisper. So, no pressure, But apparently our makeout sessions could end the universe. Gotta say, you're raising the stakes on this whole bond thing. She elbowed him gently, her smile teasing but strained. You're not helping, she murmured, though her hand slipped into his, their fingers lacing together. The simple touch sent a thrill through him, a reminder of how dangerous and irresistible their connection was. The council chamber was as grand as before, its starry ceiling casting a solemn light over the five elders. The lead elder, her hair glowing like molten light, stood as they entered. Lyra, Alex, she said, her voice resonant. The Overseer's corruption of the relic is worse than we feared. We've traced its energy signature to a hidden facility on Elaris, a stronghold where the Overseer himself waits. Alex's heart sank. He's here? He asked, his voice tight. On the planet? The elder nodded. He anticipated your arrival. The relic's failsafe was his trap, designed to draw Lyra back to him. But there's more. She gestured, and a hologram flickered to life, a map of Elaris, highlighting a dark, sprawling structure buried deep underground. This facility holds a device that amplifies the Overseer's power. If he activates it, he could control every relic on Elaris, turning our defenses against us. Lyra's grip on Alex's hand tightened, her voice trembling. Then we have to stop him, she said, before he uses the relic against us. The elder's gaze softened, but her words were grave. You cannot face him alone. The relic's failsafe makes your bond a liability, but there is a way to neutralize it, a ritual, deep in the city's core, that can purify the relic. It requires sacrifice. Alex's stomach twisted. Sacrifice? He asked, his tone wary. What kind of sacrifice? The elder's eyes met his, unflinching. One of you must sever the bond, willingly giving up your connection. It will save you from merging, but it will erase what you share. Forever. The words landed like a blow, and Alex felt Lyra's hand tremble in his. Lose their bond? The thought was unbearable, like cutting out a piece of his soul. He looked at her, her eyes wide with the same fear, the same defiance. No way, he said, his voice fierce. There's got to be another way. We're not giving this up. Lyra nodded, her voice steady despite her tears. He's right. The Overseer wants us to break. We'll find another path. The elder sighed, but a faint smile touched her lips. Your courage is admirable, she said, but the ritual is your only chance. You have until dawn. After that, the Overseer will strike. As the council dismissed them, Alex and Lyra stepped into the corridor, their hands still joined. The weight of the choice pressed down on them, but so did their resolve. We'll figure this out, Alex said, his voice low. No creepy alien overlord's gonna dictate our love life. Lyra's laugh was shaky, but her eyes burned with determination. Together, she said, squeezing his hand. As they headed toward the city's core, the Overseer's shadow loomed larger. But so did their defiance, the ritual, the relic, their bond. It was all a gamble. But Alex knew one thing for certain. He'd fight for Lyra, for them, until the stars burned out. The crystalline corridors of Elaris' city shimmered with a quiet radiance as Alex and Lyra hurried toward the core, their hands clasped tightly, their steps echoing with purpose. The council's ultimatum hung heavy. The ritual to purify the relic could save them from the Overseer's failsafe, but at the cost of severing their bond, erasing the connection that had grown from a spark in a cave to a fire that burned in their souls. Alex's heart rebelled against the idea, and Lyra's determined gaze mirrored his resolve. They'd fought too hard, felt too deeply, to let the Overseer or anyone dictate their fate. As dawn approached, with the Overseer's hidden stronghold poised to unleash chaos, they vowed to find another way, together. The city's core was a vast chamber, its ceiling a dome of swirling starlight that seemed to pulse with Elaris' heartbeat. At its center stood a towering spire, the nexus of ether, where the ritual would take place. The relic in Lyra's hands glowed softly, its energy stirring as they approached. Elarian guards stood watch, their silver eyes wary, but the lead elder, her hair glowing like molten light, greeted them with a solemn nod. "The time is near," she said, her voice resonant. "The ritual awaits, but the choice is yours." Alex squeezed Lyra's hand, his voice low. "We're not breaking our bond," he said, his tone defiant. "There's got to be a way to stop the Overseer without losing us." Lyra's golden eyes met his, shimmering with trust and love. "I believe in us," she whispered, her voice steady despite the fear lurking beneath. "The relic brought us together for a reason. We'll find the truth." The elder's gaze softened, but her words were grave. "The Overseer's stronghold is activating," she said. "His device will corrupt every relic on Elaris, enslaving our people. You must act quickly." Before they could respond, a tremor shook the chamber, and the Nexus's light flickered. A cold, familiar voice echoed through the air. The Overseer's. "You cannot defy me," he said, his tone dripping with malice. "The relic's failsafe is my creation. Deepen your bond, and you'll merge into oblivion. Break it, and you'll fall to me. Either way, Lyra is mine." Alex's jaw clenched, anger flaring. "This guy's got a serious obsession problem," he muttered, earning a faint smile from Lyra. He turned to the elder. "What's the deal with this ritual? Can we tweak it to shut him down without the whole erase our love part?" The elder hesitated, then gestured to the Nexus. "The ritual channels the relic's energy through your bond," she said. "To purify it, one must surrender their essence, breaking the connection. But there is a legend, untested, of a bond so strong it could rewrite the relic's power, defying the failsafe. It requires absolute unity, heart, mind, soul." Lyra's eyes widened. "Unity," she murmured, her gaze locking onto Alex's. "That's what we've been doing all along, trusting each other, sharing everything." Alex nodded, a spark of hope igniting. "Then let's do it," he said. "All in. No holding back. If our bond's real, it'll beat his trap." The elder's expression was uncertain, but she stepped aside. "May the ether guide you," she said, and the guards parted, allowing them to approach the Nexus. They placed the relic on the spire's pedestal, its glow surging as the Nexus hummed to life. Lyra took Alex's hands, her fingers trembling but firm. "Whatever happens," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I'm glad it was you." He smiled, his heart swelling. "Same here," he said, leaning in to brush his lips against her forehead. "Let's show this creep what a real bond looks like." They closed their eyes, and the Nexus's energy enveloped them, warm and vibrant, like stepping into a star. Alex felt Lyra's presence, her courage, her love, her essence, merging with his, deeper than ever before. The relic's failsafe stirred, a cold, invasive thread threatening to consume them. But they pushed back, their bond a blazing light that burned through the darkness. Memories flashed, their first meeting, their kisses, their defiance, and Alex poured everything into her, holding nothing back. The chamber shook violently, and the Overseer's voice roared. "You cannot resist," he snarled. "Your bond is mine." Lyra's voice cut through, fierce and unwavering. "You're wrong," she said. "This is ours." She pressed closer to Alex, their bodies aligned, their breaths sinking. The Nexus amplified their connection, and Alex felt a surge of power, not destructive, but creative, like forging a new star. The failsafe faltered, its cold grip unraveling as their unity rewrote the relic's energy. The Nexus flared, a blinding wave of light that rippled through the chamber and beyond. The Overseer's voice screamed, then faded, silenced by the relic's purified power. The tremor ceased, and the chamber fell still, save for the soft hum of the Nexus. Alex and Lyra opened their eyes, their hands still joined, their bond intact, stronger, brighter, free of the overseer's taint. The elder stepped forward, her eyes wide with awe. "You've done it," she said, her voice hushed. "The relic is purified, and the overseer's device is disabled. Elaris is safe." Alex exhaled, pulling Lyra into his arms, her warmth grounding him. "Told you we'd find a way," he said, his voice rough with relief. He grinned, unable to resist. "Though, gotta admit, I was half expecting to turn into some glowy space blob for a second there." Lyra laughed, the sound bright and free, her eyes sparkling. "You'd make a terrible space blob," she teased, her arms wrapping around his neck. "But you're a pretty good hero." They kissed, soft and lingering, the nexus's glow framing them like a blessing. The guards and elders watched, their stern faces softening, and even Kaol, lingering in the shadows, gave a reluctant nod before turning away. The elder cleared her throat, drawing their attention. "The council owes you both a debt," she said. "The overseer's stronghold has collapsed, his forces scattered. You are welcome here. Alex, as one of us." Alex raised an eyebrow, glancing at Lyra. "One of you? Does that come with a glow-in-the-dark upgrade? Or—" Lyra elbowed him, her smile radiant. "It means your family," she said, her voice warm. "If you'll stay." He looked into her eyes, seeing a future he hadn't dared imagine, a life among the stars with her. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, his voice steady. "You're stuck with me." The elder smiled, gesturing to the city beyond. "Then go," she said. "Elaris awaits you." Hand in hand, Alex and Lyra stepped out into the dawn, the city's spires gleaming under a sky of endless stars. The Odyssey waited, a promise of new adventures. But for now, they were content to stand together, their bond unbreakable. The overseer was gone, the relic purified, and their love had defied a galaxy's worth of odds. As they faced the horizon, Alex felt Lyra's heartbeat against his side, a rhythm that matched his own, and he knew they were home not just on Elaris, but in each other. The stars stretched out before them, vast and eternal, and for the first time, Alex wasn't chasing the unknown. He'd found it, in her,